Hey everybody, welcome back. Well, as you can see, it is pitch black outside, but I'm going to pull the A into the shop right now and we're going to tear apart the clutch tonight. We'll see how far we can get on it, but I have some new parts, have some cleaned up parts, and I think this will be a really successful evening. So in a previous video when I was working on the hydraulics to this tractor, I showed you some of the issues with this clutch. The issue with the clutch is it's really, really loose. If I try to, it takes no pressure to engage and disengage that clutch. And I know that I can just tighten the 3 screws down in here, not screws, but the 3 nuts. There's some castellated nuts down in here that adjust the tension for the springs that clamp the clutch discs and the pressure plate together. That's not hard, but the problem is if I turn those screws from where they are right now in the super loose position, a quarter turn tight, then the clutch goes from being super loose to being so tight I can't even engage or disengage the clutch. So something is wrong down inside here and I've got to figure it out. And also I pointed out just how loose and how much wear we have with all of the clutch linkages. So this tractor, I've always known that this tractor has a lot of, has had a lot of use. If you look here, if you look here just at the brake pedals, you can see that all of the tread is worn off on the inside here, on that one, and on the other side here. Has a little bit less wear, but anyway, it kind of goes to show how much wear and how much use this tractor has had throughout its life. Let's pop this cover off and look inside here and see what we've got. So as you can see, I can't take the pulley off because the wheel is too far in. However, I do have enough access to the back side of this that I can look in here, and I was able to verify everything looks okay. You know, I was worried that maybe some of these, I don't know if they're called dogs, whatever you want to call them. I was worried that maybe some of that stuff had come loose, but everything's connected. Everything slides back and forth like it should. On this back side, I don't see any problems. And if I look at the front side, hold on a second, it's a little bit dirty in here, but no big issues. All of these bolts are nice and straight. I was also worried that maybe this weighted clutch disc was cracked or something like that. This is a little bit greasy, so I'll have to use some cleaner on this, but there's no cracks. I don't see any cracks on this. And if I look on the back side, same thing. Everything looks really nice and clean. Actually, this is the front side. And then the back side looks really nice. So this is what a cracked disc looks like. We pulled this off of a parts tractor, and you can see right here, there is a crack right here. I think that crack probably comes from overheating, or just a lot of use. I'm not sure exactly, but if your clutch starts slipping, this will get hot fast, and if that gets hot, I think that's what leads to that cracking. But anyway, my weighted disc looks really good. So the one thing that I found that was a little bit odd were these 3 springs that go here on this outer, I don't know if you want to call it a pressure plate or whatever, but the coils on the springs are just very close to each other, and it doesn't take much pressure for these to just kind of collapse on themselves. And these springs are what apply the tension to the clutch when it snaps in and out. It's these springs, and I think that these springs, having been collapsed like that, is a problem. Here are some springs from a parts tractor, and you can see how much farther apart those coils are. If I put them side by side, you can see there's probably a good ½ inch, at least a quarter of an inch of difference. So I think that's what the problem is. I'm going to take these springs, or I'm going to put these new springs in. Oops. So I'm going to take these 3 good springs, I'm going to call them, and throw these springs in, and I think this will solve the problem. I think this will give me a little bit more adjustability on my clutch, and that'll be great. These facings right here don't actually look too bad. However, they're not very expensive, so I went and I bought some new ones right here. I measured the thickness of these. These old ones were 0.146, so 146 thousandths thick. For these old facings, they were both worn about equal. And these new facings are exactly 0.170, so 170 thousandths. So what is that? 20 thousandths thicker for each one of these facings. So I don't know if that's going to really make a huge deal. So this is the clutch linkage from that parts tractor that I was getting ready to put on my A. And one issue that I'm having is that this rod, it's like a spline shaft, is rusted solid. I think it's rusted solid up here in this top portion. I've gone through and I've heated it right here and down here, and hit it with PB Blaster and WD-40 and all sorts of penetrating oils. It's been through about 3 or 4 different heat cycles, heating this up, letting it cool, heating it up, letting it cool, and I still cannot drive this shaft out. The only thing that's really holding it in place, sorry, this is flopping all over the place. There is a C-clip right here that holds it in place, but I haven't even been able to get it to budge. And so what I need to do is I'm going to heat it one more time, and then I'm going to hit it with my air chisel. That was really successful in getting the bolts out of my rusted plow. So I'm going to try it here. I don't want to break anything, but at the same time I have to use a little bit of force, enough force to break that free, because it's not usable right now. So it's like a fine line, using enough force to break it free, but without breaking the piece itself. I'm going to hit it hard. You tell me if it moves.
Okay.
Nothing.
I don't think so.
How do I get that out?
I don't think it moved.
No, it didn't.
Well, that's hot. I don't know where it's hot.
I was heating just right there, so this shouldn't be too bad. That's not bad at all.
Well, if this is where it's froze,
Right there.
heat it up.
Put more heat on it.
Yeah.
Okay. I was always too worried to get it too hot and crack something, but
Well, as long as it's warm, I mean, you put a fair amount of heat on it.
yeah, just up at the top. But yeah.
Okay, now it's almost red. So hit your hammer.
Should I try hitting it straight down or hitting
No.
it sideways?
Well, yeah, put your
That's
see if you can get it loose with your
Air hit chisel?
vibrator deal.
okay.
See what happens.
Okay. Come on. Are you moving? Are you moving? I mean, yeah, it is, but it seems like it's stalled out now. Let's keep going. There it is. Got it. That was so rusted in place. But I think we got it out. Don't think we broke anything. And definitely that shaft and that housing are going to be much tighter and much better than what I've currently got on my tractor. So now we can just continue disassembling this, cleaning everything up, repainting it, and then we can put it back on the tractor. Whew. That ended up being a lot more difficult than I originally thought it would be, but thankfully we were able to get this shaft pounded out of the housing. Now, I haven't disassembled anything yet because I want to take good note here of how this, I don't know what you want to call this. It basically is the fork that slides the, what do you want, the clutch pulley in and out. So I just want to take good note of how this is oriented on this splined shaft. So the angle between this fork and this arm up here is a little bit less than 90 degrees as I'm looking at it. So with that now documented, we can probably go ahead and separate these two. Okay. I can clean everything up now. Don't want to lose the spring. There's a clip in here also. Okay. Let me get my light here. Kind of documenting how that's really not too worn. You can see there's the most wear on this side. And back here, kind of this area, is where this shoe is worn the most. But it's a lot better than what I've got. So now this, I'm going to spend some time with some emery cloth and get this right here as cleaned up as I possibly can. So I've got everything cleaned up here and degreased pretty well, at least good enough that we can throw a quick coat of paint on it. The only parts that are going to be paint are the shoe, the housing, and the top half of this, this shaft. And if you look here, look how horribly pitted this is. So it was definitely very corroded, but it should work fine for what I'm trying to do. So this doesn't need any paint, obviously, but it kind of does make me wonder, kind of as a question for people out there, what do you use to clean and to degrease your parts? What I have used is this Purple Power. You just buy it from Walmart. It's water soluble, but it is pretty caustic stuff. I mean, it will take the outer layer of your skin off if you don't wear any gloves. Another thing I've used is oven cleaner. That's what I actually used on this part right here. And it does a really good job of cutting through grease. And it also even removes the outer layer of paint and gets you down to this yellow John Deere primer really pretty quickly with minimal scrubbing. So this oven cleaner works really well. It's a little bit more expensive. You can buy it at the dollar store, but I don't know. What do you use? Drop it down in the comments, because I am always I'm always happy to learn a new way to clean stuff and a new effective way to clean things. And then for paint, we're just going to use a little bit of rattle can. I've used Van Sickle paint for the longest time. Usually I will use the buy it in the big 1 gallon can, and then I will mix it with hardener and I will spray it on when I'm doing a big job. But for touch-up stuff and little things like this, I will just use a can, and this is a perfect match to the big gallon can that you spray on with a gun. Unfortunately, Van Sickle is no longer available in Utah. For some reason, a law was passed that outlawed this brand of paint. I can still buy it in Idaho, and I'm pretty close to the Idaho border. So whenever I go up into Preston and up into Idaho, I will stop by Cal Ranch up there, and I will buy a couple cans of Van Sickle. But Rust-Oleum it works just as good, and it matches this Van Sickle really pretty well as well. So anyway, you can buy really expensive paints and things like that, but this does good for what we do and makes touch-up nice and easy. So I don't know. I'll probably continue to use this for a while. If we look over here, I've laid everything out on the floor, the old versus the new, and let me set my camera up and then I'll just kind of explain it to you. So if you just look side by side, look how much wear there is down inside of this pin and handle. I mean, it's ridiculous. There's so much clearance there. And this is the new one off of that parts tractor. There's a little bit, but it's a lot better than it was. Same thing with these pins. You can just see how hourglass shaped this pin is compared to this one. This is the pin that went at the bottom of the handle. Here are the pins that went at the kind of at the pulley end. They're not too bad, but here's the thing that's interesting. I took measurements and I can actually probably use this pin. These are 1/2-inch diameter pins, and I can probably use this pin right here. This pin, I can probably use both of these pins because they both have less wear than these two. So I can kind of pick and choose which components I want to use. I also took measurements of the thickness of the fork right here, and you can't really see it, but I'll just hold this one up here. I took the thickness of the old one that I took off the tractor was 0.290, so 290 thousandths, and the thickness of this one right here is 294, so 4 thousandths difference. So not a huge difference, but still, this one that I took off the parts tractor does have less wear. It is possible to go out and machine all of the fittings and make new pins and things like that. And I've actually done that. And I can show you a clip right here of one of the tractors out in our barn that I have done that with. So over here, kind of tucked away back here, this is our 1944 John Deere A. And let me get around to the other side of this thing. Well, not going to make it that way. We'll just have to go up and over. So when we restored this tractor, I was actually taking some machining classes in college. And so I took all of the components, mainly this flywheel, this clutch pulley brake right here. And I bored this out right here and I made a bushing. I don't know if you can see. I made a bushing, pressed a bushing down in there. And then I also took this shaft and I it was really worn, and so I welded up the diameter of that shaft, and then I threw it in the lathe, and then I turned it down so that it was the right diameter. And I took away all of that free play. So this tractor right here, you can see there's no free play in anything. The clutch snaps in and out. It's nice and tight. Nothing moves. Now, I've got some pretty good used stuff that's functional, and rather than machining the pretty good used stuff that I have that I'm going to be putting on the tractor right now, I think it actually makes more sense to make new bushings and stuff like that on the parts that are more worn, because I'm going to be cutting away all of that material, to make new bushings anyway. So I'm probably going to keep this stuff that I'm pulling off of the tractor that's worn and has a lot of slop in it. I'm probably going to keep that, and they would be a pretty good candidate for overhaul and for making new bushings, boring things out, and kind of doing similar to what I did out there on that 44A that I just showed you. So anyway, that's kind of my thought. And also, in reality, I don't have access to a lathe right now. I've got a friend who's a machinist, and he's got a pretty good machine shop set up in his garage. And so I could pay him and I could have him make new bushings and stuff for me. But I think that this used stuff that I have is actually pretty good. So let's put it all back together, and hopefully the new springs work and help the clutch shift in and out, and those new discs. And then also all of these new used parts from the parts tractor. Hopefully all of that makes a pretty noticeable difference. Okay, I've got the clutch all put back together. It snaps in and out nicely. Let me show you. Okay. As far as the slop goes, the shoe still has quite a bit of slop, but nothing compared to what it was previously. And then this rod right here, side to side, I've only got about 3 inches of slop, and forward and aft, maybe 5 inches of slop. So, I mean, that's a lot better than I was. I probably had a foot or more forward and aft and side to side previously. So, oops. So I feel really good about that. However, I did notice something that I've never noticed before, and that is I've got a bit of crankshaft free play. So I've got my dial indicator set up right here, and I've got it set to 0. Let's see, that's not really, there you go. So I've got it set to 0. Now if I pull it out, I've got 30 thousandths. So that's probably about 3 times what it should be. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to loosen up these 2 bolts right here, and we're going to move the flywheel in just a little bit. Get that down to about 5 to 10 thousandths. So I'm just using a big pair of channel locks to remove this kind of nut deal. Okay. Now, let's loosen these bolts. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay, that one's loose. Now, let's turn the engine over. I have my magneto off, so it won't start. Okay, let's go backwards. Okay, that one's loose now. I think what we can do is just use a screwdriver and maybe, I don't know, we'll see. Maybe we can pry off of this. Or maybe we can just try tightening that. Let's try that. I don't know if this is going to work, but we'll try it. Oh yeah, that's moving it in. Okay, that shows that I've moved it in about 20 thousandths. So let's see. Let me zero this. Here, let me also move you guys over here so you can see it better. Okay. So I just tightened the nut a little bit, moved that in, I think about 20 thousandths. So maybe we should only have about 10 thousandths of free play now. Let me see. That didn't move any. I might have moved that too much. Because now I've got no free play. Let me loosen this. Okay. How much does that move? Tell me. Okay. Okay, that's 11 thousandths right there. So that's a little bit too much. Let's see what happens if I push on the flywheel. Let me tighten this up just a little bit. Okay. Now, okay, that's pretty much at 0. Let's see how much that moves when I move the clutch. It moves 5 thousandths. So that right there is 5 thousandths of free play. I think I'm going to call that good. Okay, I tightened these bolts up on the flywheel as tight as I possibly could. Now, let's check the free play of the crankshaft one more time. I think that's 5 or 6 thousandths, so I'm perfectly happy with that. Okay, that's going to do it. I'm going to call that a wrap. We went in and we fixed the clutch, found some collapsed springs, put some new discs in there, snaps in and out really nicely now. The other thing is we fixed all of the free play inside of all of the clutch linkages, so that's a lot better. And then we found some free play in the crankshaft that I don't remember being there previously. Anyway, we got that fixed as well. So knocked out a few things on this Model A. There's still quite a few other things that I want to fix. I kind of like using the wintertime. I mean, that's pretty much all you can do during the wintertime is take care of all of these little problems that you notice throughout the summer and the spring and the fall, and then you can take care of them during the winter. I'm probably going to do a couple of other videos on the Model A, just kind of sprucing it up, taking care of some problems that come up over the years. You know, it sits quite a bit, and let me show you a couple of other things. So this is the flywheel cover, and since I've had this flywheel cover, the previous owner decided to use a torch and cut out a big hole there. It's kind of ugly. It's not a big deal. I mean, it's still perfectly functional. I'd always thought about taking like a big metal washer and welding it on here, and then that metal washer would look a little bit better. But oops, we found a new flywheel cover for an A in that field of my dad's neighbor's place. So I've got that at home. I'm going to repaint that, and I will put that on the tractor instead of this. So that flywheel cover is going to stay off for the time being. We'll just leave this flywheel open. Now, another thing that we've got to fix is my fuel tank. I've got some crud down inside of there that every now and then clogs up my the fuel exit right here. And also on top of that, the filler neck decided to detach itself. So I got to fix that as well. So there's the fuel tank. I've got to clean it out and fix that filler neck. I need to fix the steering on this tractor. Ever since I put the new Roll-O-Matic front end on this instead of the single front tire, since it's an A narrow high crop. Excuse me, it's not a high crop. It's a high clearance. But ever since I took that single front tire off and put the row crop Roll-O-Matic on the front end, if you drive down the road, that front end just wobbles back and forth so violently that you can't really even drive it. So in the field, it does fine for like field work, but if I try to drive it, that steering really needs to be fixed. And I've got some parts tractors, steering pieces that I can put together, see if I can piece together some good used stuff. If not, I have seen new steering gears for an A in the aftermarket. Another thing that I'd need to fix is I've got a bent PTO shaft right here. When the PTO is running, you can see it just wobbles back and forth a little bit. So that PTO shaft is bent, and I got to fix that. I actually have a different seat that I could put on this. I have a float ride seat off of an 820. So if you look over here on my 830, this one is all blown out and everything, so it doesn't really work that great. But you have, the later tractors had these float ride seats, and they had the big rubber kind of cushions in there that were like torsion springs. Anyway, I've got an extra float ride seat that I could actually put onto this A. That would be pretty fun. And then there's a couple of other things, just sprucing it up a little bit. I've got a toolbox I can put on it. Anyway, a toolbox that goes down in there. Oh, just lots of little things. Well, that was kind of a long video, but like I say, there's always more projects and there's always other things to fix. But I always appreciate the support you guys give me. I enjoy making these videos, and I appreciate you guys watching them. If there's something that you guys want to see, or if there's something that I've done wrong, or if you have any like constructive criticism, drop it in the comments below, and I will try to respond to them. I read all of them, but I'll try to respond to those, and we'll see if we can kind of get some good content that you guys enjoy in the upcoming weeks. So, hey, thanks so much, and we'll see you next week with another video.